Some amazing games ended up flopping. Even with fascinating worlds, innovative mechanics, and memorable stories, many didn't achieve the expected success. Technical issues, weak marketing, or unrealistic expectations tarnished their reputations, causing them to be ignored or criticized before ever getting a real chance. But lack of recognition doesn't mean they aren't worth playing. Over time, many of these titles have been rediscovered and appreciated by those who truly ventured into them. These are great games that, despite their initial failure, deserve a second chance. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I bring daily content so you won't miss any details from the gaming universe. If you can subscribe to help me grow, I'd be really happy. Star Wars Jedi Survivor had everything to be a hit, but technical issues disrupted its launch. The game improves everything that worked in its predecessor, with more intense combat, larger maps, and new abilities. From the start, powers are already available, without having to reclaim what was once yours. The fighting system has been enhanced, with 5 brutal styles that turn each battle into a true spectacle. Unfortunately, poor performance at launch affected its initial reception. The story revolves around the search for a secret lost for centuries while trying to escape the Empire. The journeys take you through ruins, fortresses, and abandoned places, full of puzzles and dangers. Movement has been refined, with double jumps, grapples, and dashes making exploration fluid. The combat is cinematic, with impactful strikes and missions where allies join in the fight. Each confrontation becomes a spectacle, reinforcing the sense of mastery over the Force. Now that the issues have been fixed, the game shines as it should. The freedom to explore, the secrets scattered across the planets, and a variety of challenges make every moment worthwhile. At launch, bugs hit its potential, but today it stands out as one of the best in the franchise. Intense action, impressive battles, and engaging story guarantee a memorable adventure. What was once a stumble turned into a great success. Another game that struggled at the start, Cyberpunk 2077 promised to revolutionize RPGs, but its launch was a disaster. Bugs, graphical glitches, and unplayable versions made it one of the worst releases in history. What was meant to be an immersive gameplay experience turned into frustration, leading to mass refunds and harsh criticism. But the game wasn't abandoned, receiving years of updates and improvements. The city is more alive than ever, full of opportunities and dangers at every corner. The missions take unexpected turns, and each decision impacts the story in a real way. Customization has been expanded, allowing aesthetic changes, cybernetic upgrades, and even vehicle adjustments. Combat has evolved, making gunfights more intense and confrontations more strategic. What was once a broken game has become one of the most immersive RPGs ever made. Even with a troubled past, Cyberpunk 2077 reinvented itself and proved that great games can make a comeback. The engaging narrative, improved graphics, and freedom within the world elevated the adventure. The launch tainted its reputation, but the improvements showed the potential that was always there. What was a failure became one of the best examples of redemption in gaming. Days Gone arrived with little impact, but over time, it gained a loyal following. Set in an open world devastated by an apocalypse, it puts you on a survival journey against hordes of infected and hostile humans. The bike is not just a means of transportation, but an extension of your existence in this brutal world. Exploration, tense combat, and an emotionally charged narrative are part of the journey. Despite its evident qualities, the game received criticism at launch and took time to be truly appreciated. The setting is one of the highlights, with dense forests, desolate fields, and dangerous roads shaped by dynamic weather. Combat requires strategy, as facing dozens of infected at once can be a fatal mistake. Traps, improvised weapons, and constant upgrades are essential for survival. Besides the monsters, violent gangs fight for territory, making every encounter unpredictable. The story unfolds between intense action and reflective moments, exploring themes of loss, loyalty, and redemption. Even with the affection from players, Days Gone didn't get the attention it deserved, and the studio behind it eventually closed. Many still hope for a sequel that once seemed unlikely, but Sony has announced a remaster of the game, and who knows, if sales are positive, we might finally get a continuation of this story.
You're as good as dead. I'm taking you out.
Continuing, we have a sequel that failed to surpass the success of its predecessor. Dying Light 2 promised to be a revolution, but it didn't hit the expected mark. The parkour is still impeccable, allowing for electrifying escapes and creative combat. The open world impresses, full of abandoned buildings and streets taken over by chaos. The combat is brutal, with dismemberments and cinematic blows that make every fight intense. But despite improvements, the predictable story and some technical issues prevented the game from reaching its true potential. During the day, the city seems relatively safe, but when night falls, everything changes. Lethal creatures emerge from their hiding places, making every nocturnal exploration a test of courage. The choice system promised to drastically change the world, but its consequences ended up being more limited than expected. Still, the missions offer good challenges, requiring strategy and attention to every detail. Between fierce battles and frantic chases, movement remains the standout feature. Even without repeating the success of the first game, Dying Light 2 has qualities that ensure good moments. Updates brought important improvements, fixing flaws and refining the gameplay. Many expected something grand, but what came was a more contained evolution. The launch left something to be desired, but there's enough content for those who enjoy action and survival. It didn't become the phenomenon it could have been, but it still delivers adrenaline and intense challenges. Enslaved Odyssey to the West passed under the radar for many, but it hides one of the most captivating adventures in gaming. In a devastated future, machines harvest the few remaining humans, taking them to an unknown fate. In the middle of this chaos, two unlikely survivors are forced to work together. A skilled warrior and a young strategist join forces on a dangerous journey. The relationship between the two isn't just part of the story, but the heart of the adventure. The combat blends brute force and strategy, requiring attention in every confrontation against hostile machines. The protagonist masters agile attacks and devastating blows, while his partner assists with technology and knowledge. Beyond battles, exploration requires skill, with platforming challenges and treacherous paths. Each setting combines the ruins of humanity with the beauty of nature reclaiming its space. The environment creates a unique feeling of a world that is both dangerous and fascinating. Even without much recognition, Enslaved won over those who gave a chance. The engaging narrative, balanced gameplay, and the relationship between the characters make this journey unforgettable. Over time, it's clear that this is one of those games that deserve more attention. Those who discover this adventure find a rich world, well-designed mechanics, and an emotional story. Few games mix action and narrative with such personality. Gravity Rush 2 came with potential but failed to find its place in the market. Despite bringing innovative mechanics and a world full of personality, the game couldn't capture a large audience. Its unique movement and vertical exploration weren't enough to keep it in the spotlight. With sales below expectations, the franchise was left without continuity and was set aside. But for those who gave it a chance, the gameplay was remarkable. The gravity manipulation mechanic is even more refined, making movement fluid and combat dynamic. The city is vibrant, full of details, and packed with challenges that encourage exploration. The side missions are well written, expanding the game's universe with varied activities and interesting characters. The gravity system gained new styles, allowing creative approaches in both combat and traversal. All of this contributes to a unique and addictive gameplay experience. Even without the success it expected, Gravity Rush 2 delivers an engaging adventure full of identity. Combat evolved. The jazzy soundtrack adds even more charm, and the feeling of falling freely remains captivating. Some missions can frustrate due to imprecise controls, but they don't ruin the game. Despite its commercial failure, it remains a memorable game. For those seeking something different, this journey is still worth it. Next, we have Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which suffered from the shadow of the Avengers game's failure, causing many to ignore its release. The negative reception of the previous title generated distrust, which directly impacted its commercial performance. Even with an original story, charismatic characters, and creative combat, the game didn't receive the recognition it deserved. Unfortunately, it went unnoticed by much of the public. But those who gave it a chance found something far better than they expected. The narrative is one of the game's strongest points, perfectly capturing the irreverent spirit of the Guardians. The player takes on the role of Star-Lord, leading the team on a journey full of humor, action, and emotional moments. The interactions between the characters are well developed, and the choices made throughout the campaign influence dialogues and events. Combat mixes elemental gunfire, commands for allies, and combo attacks. All of this is accompanied by a soundtrack full of 80s classics. Even without much recognition, the game delivers a captivating adventure from start to finish. The chemistry between the characters, the engaging script, and the well-designed gameplay make it one of the best Marvel-based games. The public's lack of confidence may have hurt its performance, but those who played it know just how special it is. In the middle of so many generic adaptations, this one captured the true essence of the Guardians. Mass Effect Andromeda had the difficult task of following one of the most acclaimed trilogies in gaming, but it became the least beloved title in the series. The promise of a new galaxy full of mysteries and unprecedented civilizations created great expectations. Despite a less impactful story and the lack of new standout races, the game introduced good ideas. Technical issues at launch hurt its reception, but didn't erase its qualities. Even without matching the brilliance of the original trilogy, it still delivered a great space adventure. The combat stands out for being more dynamic, offering greater freedom in using abilities and weapons. The explorable planets are vast and visually distinct, bringing varied challenges and missions. The interaction with companions keeps the classic style of the franchise, with dialogues and romances deepening relationships. Some moral decisions bring back the tough dilemmas of the original trilogy, creating memorable moments. For those looking for action and exploration, there's plenty to enjoy in this journey. Even being the least celebrated game in the series, Andromeda is still a fantastic game. The grand setting, intense combat, and the sense of discovery make it an engaging adventure. Updates fixed initial flaws and made the game more refined. The weight of the original trilogy was a tough challenge to overcome, but that doesn't mean the game doesn't have its value. It's still a space journey worth taking. Another game that faced the difficult task of surpassing its predecessor was Middle-earth: Shadow of War, which arrived with big promises but didn't achieve the expected success. The gameplay evolution brought intense battles, but the familiarity with the first game bothered some players. The campaign expanded the universe with new challenges, including fortress invasions. The variety of environments, from icy mountains to volcanic lands, made the journey visually stunning. Even without faithfully following the original story, it delivers epic moments and big confrontations. The refined combat makes each fight unique, with enemies that evolve and surprise. The customization of skills and equipment allows for different playstyles. The recruitment mechanic expands strategic possibilities, adding more depth to the system. The adversaries have distinctive personalities, making every encounter unpredictable. Despite the similarities with its predecessor, the gameplay remains engaging and full of challenges. Even without the expected impact, Shadow of War is an excellent action and strategy game. The fortress battles and intense confrontations keep the pace thrilling. The Nemesis system continues to shine, creating memorable rivalries throughout the journey. The criticisms don't take away from its innovations and refined combat. For those who enjoyed the first game, this sequel delivers everything on a larger scale. Let's talk about The Last of Us Part 2, one of the most controversial games of recent years, loved by some and hated by others. The divisions mostly happen due to the story, which takes bold and unexpected turns. But beyond the narrative controversies, the game is incredible in every technical and mechanical aspect. The detailed environments, refined gameplay, and advanced AI elevate the adventure. Regardless of opinions on the plot, the level of quality achieved is undeniable. The facial capture impresses by conveying emotions with a realism rare in games. During gameplay, the characters show fear, anger, and despair naturally. Enemies react to danger with expressions of panic when they realize they're at a disadvantage. The brutality of the combat is reflected in the details, making each confrontation even more impactful. This meticulous attention to gestures and reactions deepens immersion, making the violence even more raw. Even dividing opinions, the game stood out as one of the most ambitious of the generation. Its narrative subverts expectations, while the technical level sets a new standard for realism. The emotional weight of the decisions and the expressiveness of the characters create a unique gameplay experience. Naughty Dog didn't just make a sequel. They created a work that challenged the industry itself. The impact the game generated proves its relevance, regardless of the divergent opinions. Pillars of Eternity 2 came with big promises, but was overshadowed by other releases. As a sequel to one of the most acclaimed RPGs of the decade, it brought a rich world full of possibilities. The setting in the Deadfire archipelago added naval exploration and new mechanics. But despite significant improvements, the game didn't stand out in the market. Among other big titles, its grand adventure went unnoticed. The gameplay maintains the essence of classic RPGs, with impactful narrative choices and strategic combat. The freedom of exploration allows you to discover exotic islands, interact with factions, and make decisions that shape the world. The companions have complex stories, enriching the journey even further. The customization of skills and classes allows for multiple approaches to challenges. Each quest offers different paths, ensuring an always unpredictable adventure. Even without the recognition it deserved, Deadfire is an exceptional RPG. The depth of the choice system and the immersion in the world ensure an engaging narrative. Naval exploration and detailed customization elevate the game's quality even further. Its release in a competitive period hindered its reach, but its quality is unquestionable. For those seeking a rich and challenging journey, this is a title worth playing. Another excellent game, which is surprising it wasn't a true success, is Prey, one of the most intriguing games of its generation, but it was poorly marketed and didn't achieve the expected success. With a dense atmosphere and a plot full of mysteries, it brought a unique approach to the sci-fi genre. The space station where the game takes place is an impressive setting, mixing luxury and decay in a structure full of secrets. Despite the positive reception, its sequel was canceled, but it became a true cult classic within the genre. The gameplay encourages creativity, allowing different ways to tackle challenges. Alien abilities and technological tools open up numerous possibilities, making exploration even more engaging. The freedom to define strategies and improvise solutions keeps the tension constant. The non-linear design of the station encourages curiosity, hiding resources and secrets in every corner. The sense of vulnerability and the need to adapt make every moment unpredictable. Even without the expected continuation, Prey remains one of the best executed sci-fi thrillers in gaming. The engaging story, strategic combat, and immersive setting create a memorable gameplay experience. Its quiet release and lack of investment do not reflect its greatness.
Advance!
In 14th place is Quantum Break, which tried to innovate by mixing a game and a series, but the idea didn't succeed as expected. The engaging narrative and time-manipulating powers created memorable moments, but the execution divided opinions. The live-action series, which alternated between the game's chapters, was an ambitious bet, but it didn't have the desired impact. The alternation between gameplay and episodes that expanded the story ended up breaking the rhythm for some players. As a result, the game didn't achieve the success it could have. The gameplay features dynamic combat, where time powers create strategic possibilities. Freezing enemies, dodging bullets, and manipulating the environment make the fights intense and unpredictable. The detailed settings reinforce the feeling of a world on the brink of temporal collapse. The player's choices influence the plot, changing the course of events. Every decision impacts how the story unfolds, making the experience unique. Even without great commercial success, Quantum Break remains an ambitious and unique work. The fusion of game and interactive narrative brought something new to the genre. The creative combat and impressive visual effects make it a standout title. Its innovative concept could have been better utilized, but it still left its mark. For those who enjoy ambitious stories and unique mechanics, it's a game worth playing. Rage 2 arrived with a blast of color and violence, but failed to win over the audience as expected. The shallow story and repetitive missions prevented the game from reaching its potential. Despite this, the gameplay hits the mark, delivering intense gunfights and powerful abilities. Chaos and destruction are at the heart of the gameplay. The weapons have brutal impact, and the agile movement turns each confrontation into a spectacle of stylized violence. Modified vehicles race across the wasteland, providing electrifying combat. Rival factions add more personality to the environment, with insane enemies and violent mutants. Rage 2 delivers intense action and addictive gameplay. The focus on destruction and exaggerated powers makes each gunfight have a frenetic pace. The game creates spectacular moments of pure chaos, a journey where the only rule is to blow everything up along the way. Shadow of the Tomb Raider brought the final chapter of Lara's journey, but didn't achieve the success of the previous games. The evolution of the character and the darker tone of the story were well received, but the familiarity with the formula left some players less excited. Even without the expected impact, the adventure delivers intense moments and stunning landscapes. The stealth system was expanded, allowing for strategic approaches with camouflage and quick attacks. The exploration mechanics remain engaging, with vertical environments and submerged passages. The puzzles are creative, requiring attention to overcome deadly traps. Combat continues the previous style, balancing action and strategy with the use of the environment. The game wraps up the trilogy with memorable moments. The wild setting and intense challenges ensure an engaging experience. Lara faces relentless dangers, and her journey transforms her definitively. Even without the same reception as its predecessors, the game delivers a worthy conclusion. For those who appreciate exploration and challenges, there's still much to discover. Sunset Overdrive brought frenetic action and a vibrant world, but was launched without proper marketing and ended up being overlooked. The combination of parkour and insane combat created fun and full of possibilities gameplay. The irreverent humor and stylized visuals gave the game personality, making each fight even more chaotic. Despite being praised by critics and earning a loyal fanbase, it remains one of the most underrated games on Game Pass. The movement is agile and dynamic, allowing you to run on walls, slide on rails, and jump between buildings without missing a beat. The exaggerated tone and fast-paced gameplay create unforgettable moments from start to finish. It's one of those games that doesn't create many expectations, but delivers hours of fun. Another sequel overshadowed by the success of the first game is The Evil Within 2, which brought significant improvements but didn't have the same impact. The premise expanded the original formula, adding more open areas and greater freedom of approach. The psychological horror remains present, with a distorted world that challenges sanity. The setting is oppressive, full of macabre environments and disturbing details. Combat allows you to choose between stealth and direct confrontations, balancing strategy and desperation. Setting traps, conserving ammo, and using the environment to your advantage are essential for survival. Despite not repeating the success of the first, The Evil Within 2 is an excellent survival horror. The mix of psychological horror and strategic action keeps the tension high from start to finish. The feeling of vulnerability and the moments of terror create an immersive atmosphere. The game may have gone unnoticed, but it's a worthy sequel that deserved more recognition. The Last Guardian came with enormous hype, but never lived up to expectations and was brutally forgotten. The promise of a unique, emotional connection and a touching journey captivated the audience before the release. But gameplay issues and imprecise controls hurt its reception. The clunky movement and problematic camera made some moments frustrating. Even so, the game delivers scenes of pure beauty and a striking melancholic atmosphere. The relationship between the protagonist and the giant creature is the standout, bringing emotional and natural moments. The companion's behavior is unpredictable, making each interaction unique. Even with all its problems, it has unforgettable moments. The art direction and the bond between the characters create an emotional and unique experience. But the problematic execution prevented it from having the same impact as the studio's previous games. The ambitious project never managed to justify the expectations it created, but still, it's a great adventure. As a bonus, I've included a game that isn't single-player, but its redemption story deserves recognition. No Man's Sky had one of the most problematic launches in gaming history. The promise of an infinite galaxy, full of exploration and possibilities, created enormous hype. But at launch, the game offered very little content, limited mechanics, and a sense of emptiness that disappointed many players. But instead of being abandoned, the game went through years of updates that completely transformed it. Today, space exploration is truly fascinating, with worlds full of life, unique biomes, and hidden secrets. The universe feels alive, with space stations, faction battles, and vibrant planets teeming with exotic creatures. What once felt empty is now rich and full of possibilities. Even after the disastrous launch, No Man's Sky reinvented itself and became one of the most impressive games in the genre. The initial promise was finally fulfilled, solidifying the game as one of the greatest examples of redemption in the industry. And tell me, which of these games have you had the chance to play? Did any catch your curiosity, and would you add it to your list of upcoming games? We'd love to know which one caught your attention the most. Also, share in the comments any game that should definitely be on the list but got left out. If you can, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never wonder what to play again. I'm leaving 2 videos on the card, one I selected for you and another that YouTube picked. Just click on either one to watch. Big hugs, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.